Any of you ever thought it'd be nice to have me there in your house helping you fix some repairs? Well, that's what we're gonna do today. I'll tell you all about it right after this. All right, so we're here in a customer's home here. I put out an ad here locally in my town and asked if anybody needed help with some drywall, and I would come and do it for free.
For free?
We have Terry, right?
Yes.
And you were going to do some repairs on your corner bead. Now this is a fairly simple repair to do. This won't be too hard, but it can be intimidating. This is a common one a lot of you guys buy, this Drydex, and there's nothing wrong with it. Now you notice it says spackling on it. Spackling is really meant for smaller things like nail holes, maybe something as big as that, but nothing bigger. You wouldn't want to patch a hole in a wall. I just don't recommend it for anything bigger than maybe a small hole like this. After that, you're better off just getting a whole bucket of it. Another product that I noticed that you got is some spray wall texture. If we had much to do on here, you'd run out. These often only cover about, say, 1 foot by 1 foot if it's a medium heavy texture. It gets really expensive. They're kind of hard to control. You can't get the results I'm gonna show you. There's a really easy way to do a knockdown texture that anybody can do with a sponge. So we're gonna get into it now. One of the first things you want to do, first of all, you want to make sure that everything that is here is sound. You might still have some loose drywall mud under there or some loose paint. You don't want that. Everything's got to be solid. You want to make sure it's sound, and when you feel like everything's fairly solid that's remaining, then next thing I'm noticing is I bet this got dented because of furniture moving. Would I be right?
Yes, you would be right.
So you guys are moving some furniture and one end swung over here and hit the corner, chipped this and put a little dent in the corner bead. When you get quality knives, they have a hammer end. That's a metal end. And we're just gonna lower that spot a little bit. It can be kind of tough because corner bead is tough. So you can kind of tell afterwards by, if you run your knife over it and you don't feel it hit a little bump, then it's okay. And just go up both sides like that. Okay, so next thing I would do is get out like a sanding sponge or a piece of sandpaper. By sanding the paint, we help give it some tooth for the mud to stick to, and it's just gonna give you a better quality.
How's that?
That's probably pretty good. Now the next thing is we kind of want to wipe off the dust. You could do it with a damp rag, whatever. Now it's ready to do the mudding part. I'm going to go mix up some 20-minute hot mud. Come back in here and we'll show you how to do that next.
Okay.
Okay, we went outside and mixed up just a little bit of 20-minute hot mud, and like I've shown Terry here, you want it fairly thick for something like this. So if it was me, I'd probably spread it like that and do the fast way. But that's harder for you guys. You can see that quickly I can get it pretty much flat, but I'm gonna show you the simpler way that most novices do, and it's fine, it's just slower. To do it the easy way, just simply put some mud on there, just spread it on. Then you just put your knife on here and stand it mostly straight up. Probably come over here since you're right-handed like me and dab it on there like that. Just spread some on there. Yep, and go down. That's pretty much all you need, and then just wipe it off. A little bit of minor stuff before we texture it, but we'll cover that next. For you guys, for a novice, what I would do is figure on 2 to 3 coats.
2 to 3 coats.
Yeah, for me, what I would do, we don't have a whole lot longer on this, I'll show you. I would just come in here and touch that up a little bit. And again, this is the artistry part of it, just knowing what works and what doesn't, and get that over there a little bit. Sometimes you want to put just very little pressure on the knife. If you put too much, you just keep wiping more off and deeper. Now you see how the fill is complete. Same principle, scrape, sand if you need to. I'll get by with just scraping. See how the high points were taken off? Looks like somebody did do a little texturing on it, but not the best job of it. Okay, so with mesh tape, we can just stick it on there. It's self-adhesive, and it just cuts with the edge of the blade like that. Normally, when you do this, you would put the mud down first and then this. But the purpose of this being sticky is so that you don't have to do that step. There's that feathering. Only on the outside. It's the most important on the outside, a little bit on the inside, but we're gonna fill all that. So now I'm going to the big knife. If I put my knife on there, you can tell if it's got a hump or not. See right there? That one's humped. So mainly I need most of my fill down here. So I'll start. And when I spread, I always start out about like that and lay your knife over as you go. Feather the edges. And I don't want to take much off, so I lay it down more. The more you stand it up, the more you take off. And that's probably enough. Okay, we've now got 2 coats on here. The second coat of hot mud we put on here pretty thin, but we got it squared up pretty good. For this heavy a texture, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to get it basically the shape right, and we got everything filled in. But now we've got some edges, and these outer edges like this can give away a repair. So you just take this sponge that we're gonna texture it with, you dampen it, and all you do is just very lightly go over it until you see how the edges just kind of went away. Really that simple. It doesn't take much at all to wet sand drywall. And we could clean off some of this over here too with it. Drywall mud, even the hot mud washes off real easy like this. And then we'll soften it up with the sponge. Here's where you don't really want to get into the habit of overworking it. A lot of people tend to want to just keep working it, and then you mess it up, and then you fix it, and then you overwork it, and then you mess it up, and you keep going in this cycle. So try not to overwork it either. So I went out and mixed some Pepto-Bismol in with my drywall mud. This is the Drydex. It goes on pink and dries white. This is the first time I've ever tried to texture with the Drydex, and it doesn't feel the greatest to me, but it feels like it will do the job. We take this mud, we just dip in here, and we just start tapping. I could knock this down right now. It's gonna smear more than anything, but just to show you, that's what we're talking about with a knockdown.
Okay.
If I come down through here and put like that much on there, because it's so fresh. Normally, we wanna let it set up anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. So we're gonna wipe it off, put it back on, let it set up. Needs a little bit more, I think. Get a little more mud on the sponge. It's a little too dry.
Is it?
Yeah, you want to load it up pretty heavy, but not so thick that it leaves just tons of gobs on there. You know, the technical term, tons of gobs.
Tons of gobs.
It's a drywall term. That's looking better. This is where experience can come in, but here's one thing to keep in mind. If you do this and you determine it's a little too light, you can let it dry a fair amount, put some more on, do it again. It'll just add to it. So it's better to go a little too light than too heavy, because it'll smear if it's too heavy. Just very lightly pull it across.
Is that light enough?
I think overall, once this is primed and painted, it's gonna look good. And again, I would paint from the bottom to at least right up here where the curve starts, and it'll blend better. But just each time, the first time, do primer, a little bit of overlap, paint, a little bit of overlap, and then paint all the way up to here. You'll get the best blend that way.
I think it looks great, and I think you explained it wonderful.
I hope so. I hope it helps you guys out too. This is my first time teaching on the job. It's a little different than standing in the studio, but if I helped you out, be sure and give us a thumbs up, all that stuff. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Take care, everybody.